is the game heading in the right direction prior to the World Cup in 2026? Because you came at the perfect time before the DA started. And then when the DA started, and then recently the DA's folded, now they're rebranding it with the whole MLS. Are we heading in the right direction? Because that 2026 World Cup, it's going to be big time for the U.S. as well, too.
So I've been very fortunate. I've worked at the national level, right? So when I was in Bermuda, we pulled off one of the biggest shocks. We beat Trinidad and Tobago in the World Cup. And we called it it was before when Jack Warner was involved, before all the FIFA scandals and that. But we done that, and I saw probably some of the things that I probably shouldn't have seen. And America in CONCACAF was the powerhouse, them and Mexico, and for them not to qualify for the World Cup out of these brackets is scandalous. But I think it was a true reflection of where American soccer was and is. So I think that this pandemic, and like I'm saying, is giving everyone a chance to think. But me personally, I like the DA. You have to look at what the DA was set up for, right? So the DA at the time, when there wasn't too many pro clubs and the pro leagues weren't really doing a great job, if I'm honest. And I was with the Reading Rage at the time, so I was in that system. So to me, the America back then didn't really have a plan. So what they did is, They wanted it, I think, originally to build a national team. So hence, they threw it out there. They threw out some minimum qualifications and standards, not qualifications, minimum standards, and loads of clubs jumped on it. It was always the big clubs in the towns, and there was a lot of merging to get them there. But really, it should have been set up for a player development model. It should have been set up to produce players for the national team. And then what they did is they enforced a style of play that they tried to mandate across the board, which initially would have worked, but it would have been like England or France saying, we're going into all the clubs like Man United, Chelsea, Spurs, and so on. You've got to play one way to help the national team. Well, that would never work in England. England went the other way. They said, like, you can, all the academies, as long as you've got the minimum standards, create your own type of players and the national team will benefit. America went the other way. They said, right, everyone's going to try and play the same system, same thing. So, I don't think it was particularly managed that well. I think that they went with too many academies straight away. They didn't really condense it down. There's a lot of different scenarios because of the size of the country. But if it was set up purely for player development, I don't think they hit all the buttons, hence why it failed. Rolled it forward now. I don't know that from what I've read that it's too different to what it was before. It's certainly fewer teams. And the question I would like to ask is, how was it set up? Was it because MLS is running it, did MLS go right to every club? Did go and pick the best, these DAs, tell me the best 10 that you want to play. How was the selection done on all these clubs? Or was it, let's pick the best well-run clubs that are not MLS to come in? But to come back to your question, do I think America's got it right heading into the World Cup? No, I don't. So here's what I think it should be. I think that, and I'm involved with USL a little bit, but I think USL and MLS need to work together. I think geographically, if they all build towards trying to establish a consistent games program for these kids that works regionally and is economic, those clubs have to come together. I believe that, like everywhere in the world, the best kids should be funneled into the professional clubs. The trouble with that right now is that America doesn't have a transfer market. They're a trading nation. They do a lot of trading rather than selling and buying. I think there's been a few, the Alvaron deal, Atlanta, Pulisic has flashed. There's a few little trickles there, but still no one's really coming to America looking for players yet. People pass through America, but there's no one coming here regularly hunting the players down for various reasons. But for me, I think the professional clubs have to step up. And all work together. I think we need to filter all those players into there. And then in their regions, there needs to be some sort of regional league beneath them with all these old DA clubs that work together, that work to supply the pro clubs with players. So I go back to my Crystal Palace days. If we offered most kids in our area that they wanted to come. So we sponsored the biggest league. It was called the Tangiers League, 6,000 players. We would send our players in to do their prize givings or do the odd coaching session or give them discount camps, discount tickets. But the reality was we used those to recruit players. And then if we got a player from one of the teams, we couldn't just give them money, but we could give them season tickets or a place on here or come to a special day at the field or whatever. So I think that model works because you've got to try and find a way to funnel the best players. And then if all the professional clubs are doing a great job developing players, America's going to benefit. Right? And right now, you don't just want one-dimensional players. You don't just want a traditional six or whatever. You know, what's the difference between a Roy Keane and a Patrick Vieira or a Dunga, you know, like in their players of mine? But what they need to do is they need to develop their own style. And I think that the national team should focus purely on, there should be a small group of people that just work predominantly for the national team, going around to all those professional clubs and getting them to provide their best American players to come in. And then all they've got to do is worry about moulding all those kids together to form a team. And then my final comment on the national team program is America's got to stop trying to copy everyone else. America's got great qualities, right? And, you know, I read a little bit on your background. You know, you've been based here, but you've travelled a lot. So, you know, England failed for years trying to play. Every time England played Brazil, they played the most un-English-like game ever. We tried to play like Spain, and we didn't. Now Britain has really put England in particular has put a lot of time into their national team players. Now we do have the speed and the technique, and so we can adapt our styles. But back in the day, if Wimbledon back in their heyday would have been the national team for England, they would have probably beat most teams around Europe. But we went and played international football and then decided to play a different way. And I think at some point that changed. And I think America's caught up in that a little bit. They're trying to, do they play the German way or the Spanish way or the British way or the Dutch way or whatever? No, they need to play the American way because there is good qualities. They're very resilient. They're very athletic. You know, they don't have a creative number 10 right now. And the reason they don't is because a number 10 can't be created because of high school, college, most club teams. No one wants a casual, lazy, creative number 10. They want a reliable, hard-working, Claudio Reyna type player. So those kids won't get a chance. So focus on what you're good at. Make yourselves hard to beat. Get through to the World Cup regularly and then really test yourselves in these events against better people. Because to me, they always do well in the Gold Cup, which is the prelude to it, which really a lot of other nations don't take that seriously. But when it comes to the World Cup, America really does well when it's extreme, when the heat's bad or there's loads of travelling. But when it went to Europe and it was a level playing field for most of the countries, they struggled immensely.